the police. They're the perfect setup to a joke that will definitely get you death threats no matter how it ends. So in the interest of self-preservation, I'm just gonna skip the rest of this joke and let's just go ahead and bring up that TV animation with my name on it. You know what you're watching, you know what I'm saying? It's a thing, some shit's gonna happen, you know what I mean? Civil asset forfeiture. It's the process by which the police are able to seize any property they feel is connected to criminal activity. That could be someone's car, their house, electronics, basically anything of any real value, especially cash. And it was originally intended to be used as a tool against criminal organizations involved in the illegal drug trade, so that the police could arrest a drug lord, take everything they owned and use to traffic narcotics, and then the police could go out and buy police tanks so that they could rinse and repeat the process. And over the past 20 years, it's been estimated that law enforcement nationally made over $36.5 billion in assets seized from this practice. Critics of civil asset forfeiture have called it policing for profit because in many of these cases, the individuals whose cash and property are being seized were never convicted or even charged with a criminal offense. In 2014, the Washington Post reviewed 43,000 reports on asset seizures dating back to 2008. The seizures reported about $2.5 billion in confirmed spending by police departments, and the Post found that 81% of that money came from seizures where the rightful owners of that cash and other assets were never even indicted. And it's really hard to prove that just because your car smells like weed, that doesn't mean it's being used to traffic it. And in most cases, people never attempt to get their property back because it can cost thousands of dollars and potentially years to prove in court that your property was seized unlawfully. In 2013, the Obama administration set a policy that essentially instructed the Department of Justice not to interfere with state cannabis laws where civil asset forfeiture was concerned because the practice was running amok. Before the Cole Memorandum, police in jurisdictions all over the country, in places like Michigan, where weed was and still is legal, had Rolodexes of licensed growers and dispensary owners that they could raid at a moment's notice. Then, in 2018, Attorney General Jeff Sessions rescinded the Cole Memorandum and gave state and local cops the ability to go back to financing their attack helicopters by seizing assets that aren't breaking state laws as long as they gave the federal government a cut off the top. And now, the Equitable Sharing Act has provided a loophole around state laws. If a state or local law enforcement agency creates a task force with a federal agency, the police can seize property, not report it to anyone, and then transfer that property to federal control, which will allow them to keep up to 80% of the funds. And this same loophole is lining the pockets of a local policing agency in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The Broward County Sheriff's Office, in a joint task force with the Miami Office of Homeland Security, have confiscated nearly $200,000 by stopping people at the Fort Lauderdale airport carrying cash with a one-way ticket to California. And they haven't charged a single person with a crime of any kind. And we know all of this thanks to the incredible reporting by my man, Francisco Alvarado. Francisco, shout out to you. In every one of the complaints filed by the Broward County Sheriff's Office, they maintain they approached individuals at random and only confiscated cash from individuals whose belongings had the aroma of marijuana and had purchased one-way plane tickets with a final destination anywhere in California. They further noted that a canine had detected the odor of narcotics on the money they were carrying, and that they provided evasive or seemingly untruthful answers during questioning. Which, if I get pulled out of security at the airport by a canine unit working with Homeland Security after a weekend in Miami, I'm also going to seem evasive under questioning since I would A, probably be hungover, and B, terrified that they think I'm preparing to do something a whole lot worse than fly to California to buy weed with a one-way ticket, which means I'm not coming back to Florida. Also, who the hell needs to leave Miami to go to California just to buy drugs? If you seriously think someone has to leave South Florida to go across the country to California to buy drugs of any kind, you really don't deserve to be wearing a badge. Also, I'm sure that every $20 bill coming out of Miami smells like narcotics. I mean, let's just be real. I'm not trying to say that the police shouldn't be able to detain and question people at an airport to prevent criminal wrongdoing of any kind, but they shouldn't be able to rob you. All right, that's unfair. They shouldn't be able to accuse the cash in your pocket of a crime without ever charging you with one, just because you're flying across the country. This seems a lot more like a predatory practice than preventative policing, and it feels like a new way to profile and victimize everyday people who are traveling between two states and cannabis is legal in one of them already. And if you do have a criminal record because of a nonviolent marijuana charge, then you can go to www.offtherecord.us where you'll find all the resources you need to have your record expunged or at least sealed. Because no one deserves to suffer for something that's legal in half the country anyway. Hey, I'm Lee. Thanks for watching this video. Click on something that's happening on the screen. Click on any of the things on the screen. Watch more of these. There's at least, probably gonna make at least one more.